The key to writing great bass lines is understanding the role that bass plays in a given song, and for most music, that role is to connect the rhythmic and harmonic elements together. The drums are the heartbeat of a song, and the melody is the heady part of it. Then the bass is the lungs that deliver the oxygen so that the other parts can even function. You probably don't think about breathing very often, but you'll notice it pretty quick if it stops. So how exactly does bass achieve its role as the bridge between the heartbeat and the brain? Never forget the one. Now, the one can mean two things. It can be both the first beat in a measure or a bar, or it can be the root note in the harmonic structure, and keeping track of both is very important. From a rhythmic perspective, the one is often the strongest beat, and if you miss that, then everything can kind of just fall apart. Similarly, the root note is the home base for harmony, and the melody can do whatever it wants, but it will always be anchored by that root note. Now, some players will resent just being relegated to root notes because they find it boring or uninteresting, but in a lot of cases, it's just the right thing to do. And in those situations, here's my advice: play it with attitude. Smashing the absolute fuck out of the one, both rhythmically and harmonically, makes for a very grounded bass line, and if you do it intentionally, you'll almost never be wrong. Let me give you a good example. Over the many years of playing the song For the Sake of Love, which is a song from the rock opera that I play in, Deep Love, it's here on my shirt, I experimented with a lot of different ways of playing that line. And it seems that no matter what I tried, it never quite felt right. It would really muddy up the vocals if I got too busy, and it would just sort of disrupt the flow of the song if I introduced too many rhythmic changes. Ultimately, I ended up just doing the simplest thing, and what you hear on the record is just chugging eighth notes on the roots. With a pick and an aggressive tone, it feels good and it feels right, but it also serves the song's driving nature. But say you do want to create some intrigue in your bass lines and you aren't really sure how to break out of those root notes. What then? Well, let's talk about octaves. The root note, as I said before, is the home bass. It's the strongest note. And the octave is that same note, but higher or lower in pitch. And these are a great way to create movement where you're still in a situation where you need to play the root. And here's my pickle. I use the upper octave to break up the sections where we're basically just playing two chords, E minor and C. If I were to just play the low E, I'd be stuck on that note for 9 counts, and that's an eternity to just be playing the same note. But by going up to that octave, I can create a little bit of movement in the verses while still maintaining the same harmonic structure, but without it getting boring by just hanging out on the same note for so long. And you can do that by playing octaves down as well. In Who We Are, I use that lower octave as a variation to kind of signal that we're coming to the end of the song. I'm still just playing the simple root notes, but by being intentional about my choices of which octave I'm playing in, I can make a big impact on the flow of the song and kind of indicate where the song is going. Modesty is a highly underrated aspect of playing bass.
And I do have actually much more humility than a lot of people would think.
Back when we were recording my first band's debut EP, we had this chorus section where I had written this really cool and kind of challenging part. While I was recording my part, the engineer, who was also a bass player named Jason Call, told me that I should simplify the part. Basically, he was telling me to just save that flashy thing for the very last time through the chorus as just one variation instead of playing that thing every single time. That moment ended up being really important important for me because what I learned is that just because you can doesn't mean you should. An unnecessarily busy bass line can trample over the vocals or disrupt the flow of the song, and that can be really distracting if you're drawing way too much attention to yourself away from other more important aspects of the song. But if you choose your moments thoughtfully and carefully, those moments can be a lot more memorable and a lot more impactful. On the Deep Love album, I keep things pretty simple for the most part, but I do have a couple of moments where I step out, and those end up being really memorable and iconic moments in the show. One good example is in Friedrich's Groove. I'm playing a pretty straight ahead blues pattern here, and I'm mostly just matching the guitar part until the end where I kind of step out and do this fill. Now, if I played that every single time, it would get fatiguing, it would get boring, it would get predictable. But because I save that fill for this right moment, right after the vocalist says, "Aren't we having fun?" it really emphasizes that line, but it also makes the bass line way more interesting because I've chosen this one specific moment for a fill instead of playing that every single time. It gives that song a little decoration that's a lot more thematic and thoughtful. But that doesn't mean that you can't play a lot of notes when somebody is singing or playing a lead, because some of my favorite bass lines are walking bass lines. A walking bass line is generally constructed from scales, arpeggios, and other tricks to outline the harmony of the music rather than just play the roots. If you haven't learned at least major and minor scales, then do that today because it's one of the most important and fundamental aspects of music. Knowing scales is probably the single most important thing that you can know as a bass player, as it's one of the most fundamental truths of music. When you write a walking bass line, it's good to try and lead the ear into the next chord. Because remember, we're never forgetting the one. Let me give you a good example.
Oh my god, dude, is this gonna be another rock opera song of yours? Like, talk about a song that I know for once. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
This is my channel, and I want to talk about my creative work. I've worked on this music for over a decade, and I'm proud of it. And if I'm not going to talk about it with my bass player nerds on my YouTube channel about bass, then who am I going to talk to about this?
All right, fine. Let's hear another one of your stupid songs, I guess.
So the chord progression for this song is C, D, G, A minor, and mostly what I'm doing is using the relevant scale to lead you into the next chord. Scales will basically tell you all the right notes that you can play over a given chord, and getting those shapes into your hands will let you play any note in any order as you see fit. Once you get comfortable with them, you can really speed them up and use walking bass lines for evil. Walking bass lines are fun, but if you feel like you're just playing random notes out of a scale, then one really great way to inform your bass lines with a little bit more melodic sensibility is to steal from melodies. Try this as an exercise. Choose a song you like, or I don't know, even a song you don't like. It really doesn't matter. Say like a Christmas song or something, and then play the melody of that song on your bass. Probably what you will find is that the notes that make up that melody are in an order or in a shape that is way outside of what you would naturally play. I definitely can fall into that trap of spamming pentatonic shapes when I don't want to think too hard about what I'm playing, but if you take a more melodic approach, you'll end up with note choices that are a lot more interesting. Deep Love is full of themes and motifs, and I could go deep into that, but I'm not going to today because that's not what we're talking about. But because it has all of these strong and memorable melodies, those are ripe for the stealing to put into bass lines or leads or solos, and that's exactly what I did on this song. Anyway, if you found any of this interesting at all, I would really strongly encourage you to go listen to the album. We worked really, really hard on it. We've worked on these songs for over a decade, and we finally recorded them in a way that we're really proud of, and it's the kind of album that I think really rewards a careful listen. So put on your best headphones, get somewhere without distractions, and really listen to it. And if you did, let me know what you thought of it. I'd be really curious to hear your feedback. Thanks again for watching this video. AMP out!